Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Mike Kollin at crackedfemalecode.com. You want to know what I do? I teach people how to be awesome. I teach people how to get out of their own way psychologically, mentally. The main purpose of that is I help people, show people, use NLP techniques so you can get more of what you want out of life. That's what it's all about. You're here to live your life to the fullest, to get the most out of life and have a blast doing it. The other thing I'm really good at doing is helping people to understand each other and to understand themselves so you can get along with other people a lot better, building up your confidence, self-esteem, etc. Alright, today's video should be a relatively short video. So I'm going to give a quick reminder. We do have a training for men. It's a 6-day training here in San Rafael, California. It is going to be the second week of September. The exact date is probably going to be after the 7th, so I'll get back to you in a little bit. So today is the 19th. You're probably not going to see this till probably the 25th or 26th. I have a brand new website. It's for men. Go to crackedfemalecode.com or seductionpower.com. Remember, I'm a professionally trained NLP trainer, master hypnotherapist, and certified and trained in Ericksonian hypnosis and timeline therapy. And I'm also certified as a master practitioner in HNLP, that's humanistic neurolinguistic psychology. I'm also trained and certified in NAC, and on, a bunch of different trainings. I've trained with Tony Robbins and some of the great healers. Specialize in emotional healing for confidence, for phobias, for pretty much any kind of issue that you have, I've worked with. Okay, so this video is about how to have power in relationships. Now, a lot of the pickup artist courses are, I really should say, especially now on all these dating YouTube channels, they're giving you all these tips and techniques and don't do this and don't do that. Okay, I'm going to give you a real good example. Okay, so one of the things pickup artists will tell you, or these dating coaches, is, don't call back. So once you get a number, wait 3 days. Now, there's a bunch of teachings like this in different scenarios, like, well, when this happens, don't call back right away. Make her wait an hour, 3 hours, or, whatever. Here's the deal. That's all left brain stuff, and she's going to feel it. When you're in your left brain, she will see it, she will hear it in your voice, and she will feel it. Now, here's what it's okay, you know how they say women are emotional and they pay attention to what they feel, their emotions? It's because, during the caveman era, she had to chase the caveman to stay alive, to survive. So when he took off and went hunting, he followed, or she followed, It was for food and for protection, so survival. Now, she can feel it when you're on task, when you have a real goal, Number one, to stay alive, to survive. Now, if you try to fake that, she's going to know. She's going to be like, oh, he's just playing these little dumb left brain games, which don't turn women on at all. So here's what you need to do instead. You need to get a real big real life goal, something that motivates the crap out of you. I don't care if it's being a world champion in bowling. I don't care if it's starting a business and making, $1 million a year, or I don't know, $10,000 a month, or, whatever it is. You need something that inspires the crap out of you. Now, the reason why I said it like that is because a lot of you guys are going to say, what's a cool thing for me to do that will make her be like, wow, look what he does. That is not what I said at all. So I've explained in past videos how our mating system and our lower reptilian brain was developed and designed during the caveman era. And that is the fight or flight brain. It's also the instinctual brain, Its job is to keep you alive, and its job is to make you horny to reproduce babies, to keep the human species alive, to keep us going. So when she's going to be interacting with you, she's going to be relying on that instinctual system. Now, cavemen were also right-brained beings. They had to, for survival, they had to tune into their five senses to know when like a lion's sneaking up on them from half a mile away. They had to be able to sense it, feel it, see it in their peripheral vision, hear it in their peripheral auditory, feel it in their peripheral kinesthetics, etc. So they had to smell a lot better. So this is a right-brained being, so they were internal beings. Now, internal beings were really in tune with their emotions and feelings. So when he was hungry, he just went. He didn't stop, go, hey, are you in the mood to go hunting? He didn't give a shit. They were fairly selfish beings. So if she wanted to be, listen closely to this word, if she wanted to be a part of his life, she was going to have to earn it. She was going to have to do something to appease him, to please him, to make him happy, like cook, clean, massage, make love to him, etc. In other words, there had to be reason for her to be in his life, otherwise he was just going to take off because he didn't give a shit. He'd just go find another cave girl. He wouldn't give a shit. He really wouldn't. He didn't need her. She needed him. And that is still hardwired into the lower reptilian system. This is really important for you to understand. But to Mike, she can get her doctorate degree, her master's degree. But to Mike, she can make $100,000 on her laptop, $1 million. And you're right. She can become the president of the United States. And you're right. But that lower reptilian brain, the mating system, does not recognize anything other than survival. It can't see a bank. It doesn't know what money is. It doesn't know what a grocery store is. It just survives. So its system says, follow this caveman. Find a caveman that knows where he's going. And that's what I'm talking about. In order to survive, he had to be on top of his game. He couldn't wait around and let some woman hold him back and ruin his life and ruin his job and career like a lot of women will purposely do. Because in their mind, like, well, if I can take you off path, like, how the hell are you going to survive in the real world? Well, back then, there was no safety things like hospitals or Social Security or, public help or whatever. They didn't have any of that. If you couldn't feed yourself, you died. Period. End of sentence. And that's the way her lower reptilian brain is still wired. It's still, if you do not fulfill its need, it's going to look at you like, this is not a good caveman. I got to find a better one. This part of our brain does not understand electricity or lights or apartments or houses or carpet or any of the good things. It doesn't understand that. But I tell you what it does understand. It knows when you're bullshitting. It knows when you're playing little games, which was a real turnoff. That'll make a woman get rid of you at the drop of a hat. If a woman is not fighting to keep you in her life, or really to stay in your life, to be a part of your life, and listen to that word, a part of your life, not your total devotion, not your total focus. You do that, she's like, yeah, this guy isn't focused on survival. He's not focused on feeding us. Now, she doesn't logically say this. Her mating system, her reptilian brain just goes, yeah, that's not a good mate. Got to find a better one. It literally gets sexually turned off and it starts looking for someone else. All right, so I'm going to give you a real-life example. It's something that I did when I was younger, and it made everything just fall into place. It was the most... As I look back, it was the most amazing experience of my life. And at the time, I didn't really understand what I was doing. I didn't get it, but everything worked out. Okay, so watch this. So during the NLP trainings, they're always, talking about alignment or personal development. Tony Robbins is about alignment. When you're in aligned, everything just works. So you just got to have your values in alignment and beliefs and rules and all this bullshit. And I did all, and they have a series of, where you do healing. You use timeline therapy and parts integration and other healing techniques to get your parts or to get your values in alignment. So you can have one away from value and one towards value, and they're in conflict. So you can have beliefs that are in conflict and values that are in conflict too. So you want to line these things up. Well, I've done this stuff for years and years, multiple times, and it never really did anything for me. And I'm like, well, why isn't this working? Like, why? I don't understand. Why am I not successful or making the amount of money I want to make? So at this point, I've done a lot of healing work. Well, I went and found a really good energy healer, and I worked with a couple Buddhist monks from Laos that were really, really good. It was incredible. Like you heal, you heal, you heal. It's like you're healing a little bit here, a little bit there. So you instead of having all these things like holding you back, and anger and frustration and doubt and confusion, you start to clear. So I am a lot more clear now than I've ever been in my life. So I began to go, well, I don't understand, like, why am I not making more money? What is this? So I've done a lot of healing work on every aspect you can think of. From Tony Robbins to energy healing to NLP to hypnosis to everything. And I did this for over a decade, 12 years longer. Now I healed up a lot of things and life became easier. I became more social. I wasn't as ashamed as I used to be. I didn't have as much anxiety. Like things were really changing. And yet I really wasn't making the money and having the success that I should have with the skills and abilities and the talent that I have in this field. I worked with one guy, he was worth over $300 million. And after work, he went to Tony Robbins seminars, like multiple Tony Robbins seminars. And he's gone to this training and that training. And he's really into this field. And he looked at me and goes, "You're the best trainer I've ever worked with." He goes, "How are you not a freaking millionaire?" He goes, "That doesn't make sense." And I said, "Honestly, I don't get it either." So the quick answer is I wasn't in alignment. The reason why I kind of giggle at the end there is because it's kind of it is true, but it's also kind of a bullshit word, and it really doesn't. Most people that I trained with in multiple different trainings, from NLP trainings to Tony Robbins, they never became successful, and I'll tell you why. So this was, I don't know if this is 15 years ago, but I was, really like, what's going on? Why am I not making more money? Blah, blah, blah. And so and things they weren't working out. They weren't functional. It was kind of this worked, this didn't work, this kind of worked. And so here's what I started to think. And I think it's because I had this experience. And I think a lot of people have never had this experience in their life. But fortunately, I had this experience at a young age. I had a time in my life where everything worked out. And I mean everything. And I mean for years. About seven or 8 years of my... Actually, technically, it was more than that. So I started to look back at my life, because I think this is what's frustrating, because I had a period of time, about 10 years or so, where everything I touched turned to gold. I was a state champion, a national champion, a state champion, captain of a section championship football team, BMX national champion, and on and on and on. It's like everything I did, I just won. I was just great. And in art, an artwork in 6th grade, my teacher entered my 2 paintings in the state art competition from high schools and colleges, and I was in 6th grade, and they let him do it. I won 2 golds, and on top of that, I was a part of a choir. We went to Hawaii, and they only invited the top 300 schools in the world, and we won 3 golds and got 2 silvers out of a possible 5 golds total. So we essentially swept the whole damn thing. Everything I did. And I looked back and I'm like, why? Like, how did I do it? Like, I don't get it. And then I did. When I was a kid, there was a tornado. We lived in Wisconsin at the time. So there was a tornado, a pretty big one. Luckily, it didn't hit our neighborhood, but it sucked all the cardboard boxes out of our garage, right? And my mom goes, "Go out there and get them." And so the wind was still blowing about 50, 60 miles an hour. And we're like, I think I was like 10 years old or something. And when I grabbed the cardboard, it lifted me up off the ground. It flipped me over like 8 feet in the air. I'm not kidding. And my brother saw that. He's like, "Fuck this." And he went running inside. So here I'm struggling to get this piece of cardboard back in the garage. And it was just freaking useless. My mom eventually made my brother come out, because the wind came down to probably like 30 miles an hour or something like that, but it was still pretty bad. So we get the boxes, put them in the garage and stuff, because they went into the neighbor's yard. My mom didn't want to be embarrassed and get in trouble and all that stuff, or get the neighbors mad at us. So the wind kind of died down, and all of a sudden our friends pull up. It was actually our cousins about 3 blocks away, or 2 blocks away actually. The kids that lived across the street, their dad pulls up in this kind of La Bamba special car. It was a beat-up car. And they pulled up to the curb and like, "Hey, you want to go boxing?" Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, boxing? Like, you mean like put cardboard boxes together? They're like, "No, boxing." They started throwing punches in the air. I'm like, My brother Gary's like, no way. And he went in the house, and I was like, hell yes. I literally sprinted in the car. They opened the door, and I literally jumped into the back. Enter the beginning of my John Wick training. I'm just kidding. I don't know what it was, but I was more excited about that than anything else I've ever experienced in my life. And I already won a couple nationals, like the Northern California Spring National in racing and blah blah blah, but this was like, I don't know what it was about this, but it excited the fuck out of me. I was fired up. Like every day, every morning, I trained, I ran, I started pushing myself, like, well, what if I go running in the morning? So I started out and did half mile, and then eventually I did a mile, then 2 miles. Next thing you know, I'm this little kid running 7 miles every morning before school. Trust me, there is a message here. It's going to change your life. So next thing you know, I got a paper route after school. So now I'm on the boxing team. I've got school, and I'm running in the morning, 7 miles. So it was about 28 to 32 papers on this paper route. Didn't take too long. It was only a couple blocks from my house, so probably took me 30-40 minutes to do it on my BMX bike. And then I'd get home and I'd do my homework, and then I'd eat dinner, and then about an hour later I was off to practice. So then a couple months more go by, and I thought, you know what, I should start doing push-ups and sit-ups in the morning before I go running, and jumping jacks. So I started doing like 25 push-ups, 25 sit-ups, 25 jumping jacks, and then I would stretch for 5 or 10 minutes, and I'd go, running. Now in the beginning it was only like 1 or 2 miles and then 3, but it worked up to eventually 7 miles. And then I got a morning paper route. So now I'm having to get up early, which means I had to get up earlier for running. So I think at this point I was waking up at 5:30 to go run. I think at this point I was running probably 3 miles a day, something like that. And then I got another paper out in the afternoon. So now I got 3. And then I got another paper out in the morning. So now I've got 2 morning paper routes, 2 paper routes after school. And one of them was a really, really big one. Okay, like this was the biggest one we had in that city. So all of a sudden, I'm doing paper routes for about 2.5 hours a day after school, and then in the morning, it was at least an hour. So here I am. I was waking up at one point at about 4:30 in the morning to do 200 push-ups, 200 sit-ups, 200 jumping jacks, and then I would do shadow boxing for about 20 minutes or 30 minutes until I broke a complete sweat. It was extremely intense. And then I would stretch for about 30 minutes, and then I would run at a full pace. And at this point, I'm doing 7 miles in the morning. So here I am doing all this working out in the morning, and then doing two medium paper routes, and then going to school and just cramming some food in my mouth and racing off to school. And then immediately after I got out of school, I would sprint home, because I never rode my bike to school because there's only a couple blocks away, but because I didn't want to get stolen, I would sprint home. And I mean get home like in 5 minutes from about 2 blocks away or so, maybe 2.5. And I'd jump on my bike, grab my paper out bag, and boom, I'd race about 4 or 5 blocks down to the paper out place where you pick up your papers, and boom. And every day it was a sprint. I would sprint on my bike, whether I was my bike or my skateboard. It was just super fast. And then I'd get home, and then I would eat food, and then a half an hour later, then I'd have to go to practice, right? Then I'd get home at about 10 o'clock at night or 9:30 at night, and then I would do homework till about midnight or about 11:30 at night. And then I would get up in the morning at about 4:30, maybe 5 at the latest, to do it all over again. I had a mission, and I was going to do it. I wanted to win the state championship in boxing, period, end of sentence. My first fight, my very first fight, I fought the former last 2-year state champion in my weight division. His father owned a boxing school in, not Wakana, but it's in Racine, Wisconsin. It's southern Wisconsin. So this kid was not only a state champion, he was far and above the competition. He'd been boxing or training since he was a little kid. I cried hysterically. It was my first match. I lost by 1 point, and I'm sobbing, and my coach's like, Mikey, you did good. He was the state champion. We shouldn't even put you in there with this guy. Mikey, you did really good. I'm like, I lost, and I'm just bawling, and everyone in the crowd, they felt so sorry for me, and I could tell they're looking at me like, dude, you did freaking good. That was like a 2-time state champion for your first match. I don't give a shit. I don't lose. I win. It was after that match I went from running like 1 or 2 miles a day or maybe 3 miles, and that's when I started amping everything up, doing more push-ups, 50 push-ups a day, and then 100, then 125, and I amped it up. Next, I'm literally like a little psycho, a freaking Navy SEAL. Now, when I ran, I didn't jog. I damn near sprinted the damn thing. Maybe not sprint, but it was a fast fucking run. So here I am pushing myself to the max. I'm getting about 4.5, 5 hours of sleep at most, except on the weekends. And everything went great. My grades went from C's and B's to A pluses across the board. I was making more money in the paper routes than I'd ever had. I was in shape. I had a girlfriend. Everything fell into place. Now, I was so focused and so busy that I didn't really notice other people, so to speak. So I had these friends, so I won the state champion, and then the year for boxing was over, so you get like 4 months off or whatever it was before you start training again. And my two friends, Timmy and his brother, Timmy and I can't remember, I think Stevie is what it was, and they were twins, and they were riding skateboards. Come on, Mike, let's go. So we went up the hill about 4 blocks up to the church on the top of the hill, and Timmy was always complaining, always wanting, and I remember because these kids' parents were fairly rich, they had it very well off. And they didn't have to do paper routes like the rest of us. They didn't have to mow lawns like the rest of us. Their parents just gave them money. And these kids came from very smart parents. And the kids themselves were smart, but they were lazy. Now here's the thing I couldn't understand. Here I was coming home with split lips and bruised ribs and, just the working out alone. The training was just grueling and I pushed myself to the max. And these guys that were spoiled rotten were miserable as fuck. And I was like, I don't get that. And the worst part about it, I remember even saying, why are you miserable? Your parents bought you brand new skateboards, brand new shoes, brand new Vans, brand new this. I go, and you don't even get good grades and you're not stupid. You don't have to do anything. You just go home. So I was at the top of the hill on the sidewalk, actually the entry where the cars go in, but I was still in the sidewalk part, and they went down, the driveway kind of went down about 6-7 feet down and flattened out, and I just stayed there. And I remember I looked up at the steeple, and I remember my number one goal was boxing. And then it dawned on me, everything fell into place. The next most important thing was my grades. The next most important thing was my paper route. The next most important thing was socializing, my girlfriend, hanging out with my friends. So everything suddenly fell in order. And because of that, it simplified everything. My girlfriend was not number one. Partying was not number one. Hanging out with my bros was not number one. Having fun was not number one. Number one was winning. And here I am, years later, certified in NLP. I studied psychology in college and on. And I've been through all these alignment trainings. Oh, you got to do your alignment. You got to heal your values and beliefs and your belief conflicts, which, by the way, is true. If you have belief conflicts, that really sucks. And by the way, I do a technique that's literally called belief conflicts, a belief conflicts technique. So, yeah, you can do all this stuff, but I'm going to tell you something right now. If you don't have a number one goal, and I mean a goal that inspires the fuck out of you, you're never going to be in alignment. Here's the deal. I'm not a rich guy, and yet rich women look at me. You know why? Because I'm in alignment. I love my business. When I work with clients will tell me after the third day, they're like, you love this, don't you? I go, dude, I fucking love it. I've had a couple guys go, man, this is like your whole life. I'm like, yep. This business is more important to me than dating. This is more important to me than anything else. Everything else follows underneath. But the thing is, there is an alignment. Women can sense it when a guy has direction and he's going after it with all his heart and soul. So he's not chasing her, he's chasing his dreams. And when a man's chasing his dreams, she chases him. Period. End of sentence. The reason why I didn't call her back in 3 days is because I was fucking busy. Not because I took a pickup artist course and says, okay, well, they say don't call her back for 3 days. That is such a dumbass fucking thing, dude. If you want to call your girl, you call your girl. It's not because of some rule that some left-brain idiot made up. That's an unhealthy relationship. I'm telling you right now, she's going to hear it in your voice. It's not just hearing it in your voice. She's going to watch, go, holy shit, that guy's fucking busy. Wow, he's going after it. So now she's got to find a way to fit into your schedule. She's working to compete to get in. See, when I'm telling you, it's in her caveman girl brain, the reptilian brain, when she's working to be a part of your life, that's when she's most happy. That's when she wants you. That's when she reaches out to hold on to you. And that's what you want. But it can't be fake. You can't be like, okay, I'm not going to call her for 3 days. The reason, you know where that rule came from? Because sometimes people like me, we're so busy, we don't have time to call you back right away. It's not because some bullshit fucking rule. She'll know it's bullshit. She'll know if you're chasing your dreams or not. I mean, it's fucking obvious. She'll see it. And she'll sense it in your energy and your focus in your eyes and the way you do things. Like, it's just different. You're on path. You're focused. You're going in a direction. Remember when I said I was at the church and I looked up and all of a sudden, like, boom, I realized what it was. My number one goal was boxing and everything else fell underneath in order by itself. They will see that because your decisions will be more decisive. They'll be quicker. Like, nope, that's going to screw up boxing. Nope, that falls next. Nope, not going to do that because that's going to screw up my happiness. Or that's going to screw up my health. Everything suddenly has an order. And all of a sudden your decisions are simple because you know exactly what you want out of life. You know exactly where you're going. So if you make this decision, well, that's going to throw me off. Well, then you're not going to make it. Meaning then you're not going to do it. All of a sudden you have clarity. You have direction. It's not some fake bullshit. She's going to see it. You're decisive. You make decisions. You know what you want. You know where you're going. You know what direction. Everything just falls into place. It becomes easy. It's not this, well, I don't know. Do I want to do it? Let me think about it. And you spin in fucking circles. She's going to see that. You're going to be like, no, that's going to, you might pause for a moment and go, that's going to help. Nope, that's going to throw me off. I'm not doing that. If I could give you the biggest tip in the world, fuck all the bullshit rules. Get the biggest dream that you could ever fucking imagine. What do you want to do and fucking fight for it? Go after it with everything you've got. Even if you barely make a dime. If that's what you really, really want to do, you're not going to quit. And that's what they're going to see. But if you're faking it, they'll see it. Okay, I'll give you a quick example. So I used to have fish tanks. I got hooked up. I got so addicted. I had like 4 fish tanks in my living room. I had this little breeder one up in my kitchen. I had this little small one in my bedroom. I had like 7 fish tanks at one point, and I was breeding like little fish, and I was, but it was just, I was fucking into it. The minute a woman walked into my apartment, she's like, man, you're really into this, aren't you? I'm like, yeah. My buddy Andrew, he goes, hey, bro, you should get a fish tank. I'm like, oh, yeah, why's that? He goes, because the girls, it gives them something, excuse to bring her over, bro, so she could look at it. Well, whenever a girl went over to his place and looked at his fish tank, it was cruddy. It wasn't clean. There was not moss, but that green stuff that grows on the sides. And she could tell he didn't give a shit about that. He wasn't into it. If you are really into something, whether it's a hobby, bicycling, or working out at the gym, women can see the difference between you're doing it to look cool or doing it to impress her versus this is what you want. That's what a woman is looking for in a man. I don't even know if it's a conscious thing. I will tell you this, her reptilian brain, that's what it's looking for. For more tips, tricks, and vagina, click subscribe, click the like button, go ahead and make a comment, and as usual, you can make a donation. There's a PayPal link right there in the description box. If you want to support this channel, either do that or buy one of my dating relationship books. I highly recommend you buy Crack the Female Code. Hey, check out my new website at seductionpower.com or crackthefemalecode.com. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.